I'm going through the homeless service in Florida. And I brought up task force to him. He said, oh, they have one here. I said, I wasn't told this. I was already at social services. They didn't tell me about Florida has a task force when they put you in a shelter. You go to an officer, you speak with an officer like you. You speak to an officer asks you, what's your situation, so on and so forth, and they take down your information, your address, your name, your phone number, so on and so forth. And then he finds a location where he houses you in a shelter. This is the task force system that they have in Florida.
Okay, but that's homeless. That's something completely different.
I understand that, but this is what I was explaining to the officer. He says to me that they have the same system here. It's called 266. I said, what is that? I said, I'll look it up first, and then I'll agree to it. I don't want to speak with her. No, I refuse speaking to anyone until I find out what this was. I don't know what this is. I wanted to look it up first. I understand that.
That's the people who
I understand that, and I
you
told your
questions-
officer, sir.
Yes, Kern, not me.
I'm speaking to you, sir.
But you're
I
asking me
told
questions
you,
I don't
I'm not
have answers
asking you anything. I'm telling you. I spoke to your officer and I said to him, I am not signing anything to do with
Nobody's asking you to
this.
sign anything.
I'm not agreeing to do any of this until I know what it's about. This is when your officer brought this to me.
Okay. Well,
I
if you're
didn't get a
agreeing
chance to
yourself,
look at
it
this.
doesn't matter. We don't need your permission.
Okay. So I'm just explaining this on camera to you for my safety.
And I'm explaining it to you.
Okay. Now, like I said, when I told him about this task force in Florida, where I was located, where the officers sent me up on a shelter housing, a co-worker of mine, pregnant co-worker that I was working with at McDonald's, was murdered.
Okay, what does that got to do
And
with
I'm
what's
going to
going on
explain
right
to
now?
you right now. So the
You're gonna
officer
talk
that
right
took
now.
me
We're not
to
just gonna keep talking about nonsense.
No.
This is part of the
I
reason
am not going to talk to
why
I'm
you're
not
gonna
going
be
to talk to
involuntarily
him.
committed, because
Okay.
you're not making
Well, I
sense.
will be
You're all over the
involuntary
place.
committed because all that's
Okay.
already on record. So, like I said,
What's
and
on record?
I'm saying
So
now
you have
to
a
you
history?
for the record, I went to a task force in Florida because I don't want to talk to you anymore. You're not
When did you last take your
being
vacation?
cooperative. I was in a Florida institution where I spoke with, not institution, a Florida shelter, which is actually an institution because they house people, where I had to go through a task force situation and they housed me. They housed me at a task force. Task force housed me at Scott Street, which is the DOC for Florida. It's the shelter for Florida. Immediately thereafter, there was a federal agent that was sent over after me to that same shelter. His name is Kristen Saunders with a K. That sounds like a girl's name. This is also on police record. I have a police record in Florida about this. This individual went from the task force to the location where I was located at in Florida to McDonald's. This is where I was working at with the pregnant young lady that was murdered. And that is the reason why I asked him. Okay, I'm gonna end the recording right now, and I'm going to speak with the officer.